Jordan. Jordan, also student of Northeastern University, will break the wall of unconscious bias.
The reality is we all have bias. As our brains take our complex world and create efficient processes to make sense of it. Our experiences determine our cognition, which alter our neurocircuitry associated with our affect, which influences our feelings about our experiences. This repetitious cycle of lifelong learning defines our humanity. So when I dream about breaking the wall of unconscious bias, I view it on a spectrum. On one end, we have blissful ignorance, and on the other, moralistic altruism. In between, the willfully ignorant and the woke-isly conscious. Explicit or implicit, we all begin at bias. And as we move along this conscious continuum, knowledge creates awareness, which leads to sensitivity before evolving into the skills needed to do the right thing without even knowing it. The solution to unconscious bias requires unconscious bias training using effective, multimodal, virtual reality brain-computer interactions. Combining brain-computer interfaces with virtual reality hardware and emotionally intelligent software, we are able to create an immersive environment that taps into your subconscious, collecting physiological and neurofeedback that allow us to quantify our unconscious biases. Implementing the gamification of consciousness provides a personalized opportunity for people to identify bias, practice their ignorance, or practice taking action, and receiving real-time adaptive feedback in a productive environment. Imagine the world through the lens of Jamal Davis, a graduate student who experiences racial bias in his first year of graduate school. That is the objective of Fair Play, a bias training program where you get to choose whether you identify bias or you ignore it, understanding that the ideal situation depends on the context. So if your professor asks you to speak on behalf of all Black students, the unconsciously competent will know that this is a tokenized bias and will be able to respond with an enlightened, skillful manner to let the professor know that it is unfair to ask a student to speak on behalf of an entire population or an entire group. By leveraging virtual reality as a global enterprise solution, we can solve the largest problem facing society today, unconscious bias. Thank you. Question?
All good.
So how do you adapt this across cultural contexts?
Absolutely. So it's all about training and models. I work at Affectiva, which is a human perception AI startup. And when you think about the data that goes into collecting this, it's all about cultural competency to ensure that we don't have algorithm bias that perpetuates or automates inequality. And the whole point is we can take that, we can empower people by telling their story in virtual reality to train models that don't have access to people of different cultural backgrounds. And then that story will be used to enlighten other people who are not aware of those people's cultures.
Thank you, Jordan. I think, unfortunately, we don't have time for another question.